Hello everyone, Richard Lewis with a video here, and I apologize if it's not as polished or as scripted as some of the videos that we do are. This one's going to kind of come straight off the top, and it's about something that I'm very passionate about, so it might get kind of lost. We might go down some cul-de-sacs or meander, and not the kind of comedy cul-de-sacs that we're used to, just kind of dark places, because this video is about YouTube's recent change, well, not even changes, but enforcement of their demonetization policy and how they've been targeting specific YouTube personalities. I would say based on things that they're saying, based on their politics, and there's been some inexplicable demonetization hits on certain videos. So anyway, if you've not been up to date with this drama, basically what's happened here is YouTube have had a policy in place about the right to demonetize something if it isn't deemed to be advertiser friendly. And as you'll see, it's been there for a while, but it's only just started to be enforced now, and it's been enforced in some inexplicable examples towards some characters who certainly are advertising friendly, some of the biggest names on YouTube. And this has been rumbling, kind of under the surface for a few days, and it's really coming to a head. Now, the smart option, as you'll see, is to clearly not talk about this, to ignore it, to pretend it isn't happening. I'm a small YouTuber, but freedom of speech, the right to free expression, the right for people to create content that they want and not be de-incentivized through subtle controlling methods. That's something that I myself have experienced a lot. It's something I'm very passionate about. I'll talk about my own experiences in regards to that over the course of the video, but let's just get to the facts and start putting you in the frame. So the first I learned about this was Mr. Epps Ian. There was a post on the subreddit Kotaku in Action, which I know a lot of people are keen to label that a hate subreddit. That's patently absurd. This is a subreddit that's dedicated towards censorship issues primarily and consumer rights issues. That's all it is. Anyone who tells you otherwise is a moron. And I saw a Reddit thread about this, and of course I checked the Twitter, and here it was. And Mr. Epps Ian had said, I wake up to this. Some of these don't even have profanity in them and are on how to heal from abuse. And it was a list of videos that had been demonetized. And just to read the email he got, the notification he got, it said, thanks for submitting your videos for monetization. We didn't approve your videos for monetization because the content in your videos or video details may not be advertiser friendly. If you believe that the content in your video is advertiser friendly, you can request an additional review below. Now, let's have a look at some of the titles of these videos. Types of loneliness, right? I mean, I don't understand where you can go with that for it to be non-advertiser friendly. My family raped me. Is rape too far? Fat shaming week and suicide. Death, afterlife, and the soul. Well, let's just stop at those three there. So a lot of his videos are about how to deal with abuse, about how to heal, talking about controversial subjects, sure, but with the view that they are cathartic and assist the person watching the video, that they can learn something from them, that they don't feel as alone. It's effectively a support-themed video aimed at people that may be survivors of abuse or that kind of thing. It goes on, there's Oh Lacey, which was a response to a well-known feminist YouTuber. Fox News displays suicide censorship, how to deal with death, very important. We're all going to have to go through it at some point, the death of a loved one. How do you cope with grieving? Don't see why that's an issue. Suicide clarified. No, I don't believe in rape culture. And on it goes. And you can see there's a lot of these videos are themed around the idea that people who espouse rape culture are absurd. People who promote this like very radical feminist view of the world, he challenges their views and says that he thinks they're stupid. Now keep that in mind, because that's going to be a recurring theme here. And certainly there's nothing in those videos that suggests to me that he should be censored or demonetized, or that any of that stuff might be not advertiser friendly. You'll actually find increasingly there is a market for logical and rational thought. And in an ever increasingly absurd world, that market is actually growing, not decreasing. If advertisers couldn't make money out of rational thought, we wouldn't know who people like, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, etc. All of these people, we wouldn't know who these rationalists, we wouldn't know who they were. So he actually then posted a tweet later on after he'd contacted YouTube. And, look, YouTube's automated systems are terrible. We know that they don't protect content creators. We know the copyright system is appalling. We know that there's issues there. So it's entirely plausible that this could have just been an automated mistake, but it isn't. Because Mr. Epps Ian contacted YouTube, and they said, after reviewing your videos, we've confirmed that the content in your videos aren't advertiser friendly. And it links the ones again, and you will notice the recurring theme. In the ones that were especially deemed to be non-advertiser friendly. And this is, they just say, look, we've reserved the right to make a final decision. That is the corporate jargon for get fucked. It's our toys. It's our ball. We're taking it and going home. Fuck you. Whenever a company says we reserve the right to make the final decision, it just means you've got no power or authority over us. We're going to do what we like. That's basically what that means. And it's just framed in a nice little fluffy corporate way so you don't get your knickers in a twist about it. But that's basically what it is. So Mr. Epps Ian maybe was kind of like a one-off, you think? Maybe he was targeted, by mistake, or, maybe he pissed someone off at YouTube or something like that, right? But then you see the same thing happens to Philip DeFranco. And Philip DeFranco had some of his videos demonetized. And interestingly enough, this demonetization occurred after he posted a video which was going viral on the internet at the time, which I'm sure some of you will have seen. And this is that there is a lady called Annalise Nielsen. She's a highfalutin type. She runs a private Facebook group that is dedicated to only having the best-looking female socialites in LA associated with it. It's very exclusive, kind of a one out, one in policy. And she's obviously very wealthy and is very progressive to the point where it's regressive political outlook. And a video emerged where she was in the back of a Lyft vehicle, and the driver had one of those little Hawaiian hula girls with the, banjo or ukulele, I should say, and the grass skirt, and it rocks on the car while you drive. And she is incensed by this and demands that he remove it, even though it's glued to his dashboard, and demands that he removes it because it's racist. It's racist, and it trivializes what she described as the defiling of the continent of Hawaii. Not a geography fucking major either, it seems. So that happens. That video blows up. She actually accused that driver of being racist. He was temporarily fired from his job until this video came up. Now, this video blew up on the internet, and rightly so. It shows her being an absolute disgusting, screeching harridan with no grasp of reality. She basically bullies an Asian man under the pretense he has white privilege. This is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And Philip DeFranco rightly pointed this out. And all of a sudden, mysteriously, he gets hit with this. So again, keep that in mind. That's a coincidence. Certainly one that I think is worth focusing on as we get into the later stage of the video. Now, there was other people. There was a guy, Luke Cutforth. Luke is not sexy. Again, does a video on depression. And he says advertisers don't like it. So it gets demonetized. Now, I find this perplexing. Why advertisers don't want to touch depression? It seems to me absolutely crazy. Why you would want to stay away from people trying to assist others in dealing with a mental health issue that I think under the current numbers, it's something like, 1 in 4 people are going to suffer it at some point in their lives. So that seems to me, again, something advertisers might want to get on, but no, apparently not. So Luke Cutforth has his videos demonetized. On top of that, Melanie Murphy, Melanie Tweets. This one blew my mind. She had a video on acne. How to do a skincare routine to deal with acne and facial scarring, and the advertisers don't like it. I'm lost for words.
Yeah, that's like the main thing that's advertised. Whenever you see bullshit ads, it's always like, get rid of acne quick. It's either that or get your dick huge. Those are the two options, it seems.
Well, or hair, right?
And I'll take them both.
Yeah, you definitely need both, mate. But there you've got Melanie, not quite so much. But, you can see here, this is an inexplicable thing. They advertise beauty products on YouTube. So somebody creating a healthcare routine, a skincare routine to deal with acne, it should well be within the limits of what YouTube allows. But apparently not. Apparently not. And again, another huge presence, Boogie, you all know him. He had the same thing. Had the exact same thing with a depression video. And you can see what he said himself. Multiple videos demonetized. And let's be absolutely clear what these videos are about. This isn't like some fucking philosophical, no, if your life's shit, maybe you should kill yourself. Like, I agree. Perhaps don't put that on the fucking internet. Right? Like in a place where depressed teenagers could see it. Maybe save that for the intellectual coffee lounges or speaking halls or whatever. I don't want to suppress anyone who believes any idea, but I could maybe at least then understand it. But no, Boogie's videos are suicide prevention. Rest in peace, Amanda Todd. Talking about somebody who did commit suicide. Suicidal thoughts, and dealing with pain. A video called Please Hold On. Please hold on. Nah, can't have that. Fucking hell, he's telling people not to kill themselves. What the fuck is this?
How am I supposed to sell my tobacco ads now?
Exactly right. Turn that off right now. No money for you. So look, it's got to be stressed at this juncture. This is very slipshod. It's all over the place. It doesn't make sense. But the one consistent theme that I've seen in the people that have been hit by this, and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen anybody that at some point hasn't made a video tackling the absurdity of being too liberal to a fault, what people label in the media as the regressive left. I haven't seen anyone yet targeted that you could say belongs to that particular subculture. Haven't seen it. Everyone I've seen be targeted by these rules is somebody that has at some point has made videos that would infuriate that particular political group. And how we know how very, very infuriated they get. So let's have a look at these policies, the actual ones that are now being enforced more rigidly than they ever have before. And they're ridiculous. Hopefully you can see that. So let's have a look. Content that is considered not advertiser friendly includes, but is not limited to, sexually suggestive content, including partial nudity and sexual humor. Well, this is ridiculous. What's sexual humor? What are we defining as sexual humor? Why can't we joke about sex? Are we going to start deleting, I've seen a number of videos, for example, mocking guys that are in the dating scene, a feminist outlook on dating. Why jokes about guys, how they're so quick to send a dick pic. Will we see videos of that nature deleted? Or is this just, again, about, anybody that kind of like, is it just about deleting people like that? I don't know. It's too vague, isn't it? What constitutes sexually suggestive content? Is this now a sexually suggestive video? Look. Yeah. Penny whistle. Is this now sexually suggestive? As I try and scoop up my left flabby man boob? Is this now sexual? I don't know. That you've got to clarify this. Then next, violence, including display of serious injury and events related to violent extremism. So hang on, right? Any video that draws attention to terrorist atrocities, that uses footage of said terrorist atrocity, is now up for being demonetized. How do I run a news channel? How do news channels function? How does an outlet like CNN post videos to YouTube? And again, I saw actually that one of the big videos at the moment is of that, the terrible images of that Syrian child caked in, debris and mud and blood. And it's really hammering home the importance of that conflict. That is a powerful image. That makes you rethink what is going on in the world. And yet that technically now under YouTube rules isn't allowed. It would be demonetized for that. There would be, if you were a business, if that was how you made your living, there'd be no point in posting that to YouTube. It would be flagged for not being advertiser appropriate. Inappropriate language, including harassment, profanity, and vulgar language. This is such a fucking trap. Get Admiral Akbar out here, because this is fucking bullshit. Inappropriate language, who dictates what that is? Okay, racism, is it? Maybe? I don't know, right? Then profanity and vulgar language, as if inappropriate language, profanity, and vulgar language are somehow under one kind of, umbrella. Not true. Profanity isn't necessarily inappropriate. It's not even necessarily vulgar. Fuck, cunt, shit. We use these words. It's a building block. Sometimes swearing can be very fucking appropriate. Like when you're outraged by something, you can use it for comedic effect to punctuate a joke. Is that now forbidden? Is that now going to get you demonetized? Vulgar language. Where do we draw the line in what is vulgarity? And here's the trap, in case you haven't already spotted it. Harassment. What the fuck? Inappropriate language, profanity, and vulgar language and harassment, they're not even remotely connected. They are not the same thing. That is ridiculous. Language cannot harass people. It just can't. Harassment is a sustained, prolonged campaign, a tirade against somebody. I would even go so far as to say that, within certain limits, language in and of itself, critique, can never be harassment. So why have you put that there? Why that deserves its own separate category? I'm going to tell you why they've put it there in a minute. Promotion of drugs, regulated substances. I can't even fucking talk. I'm so angry. Promotion of drugs and regulated substances, including selling, use, and abuse of such items. Right. Selling drugs on YouTube. Has anyone done that ever, happened. By the way? Never happened. Anyone done that? Right. Here, boys. You want a 10 bag, yeah? Right. I'll meet you at this postcode, this address. Call me on my cell. This is the number. See you in a bit, but make that public. Yeah, see what happens, mate. See what happens. Right? Is anyone, please, if there's an example of this, I actually would like to know. Show me if anybody has sold drugs on YouTube. If anyone has been that fucking dumb, I'm in. I want to know, right? There's a reason why you have the fucking dark web for shit like that. No one is using YouTube to sell drugs. Never happened, right? So let's talk about promotion of drugs and regulated substances. What constitutes promotion? Is a video talking about the, healing and medicinal purposes of marijuana, where it's a controlled substance and a regulated substance. Is that now going to be demonetized? All of those documentaries about how marijuana might be a cure for Alzheimer's, cancer, this kind of stuff, are they all demonetized now? Are they not advertiser friendly? If so, why not? And are YouTube going to be responsible the other way? Are YouTube going to not take advertiser money from pharmaceutical companies that create antidepressants that drive people crazy and actually increase the likelihood of suicide? Are YouTube going to be responsible both ways? I'll say they're not, because that's not how it works. That's not what this is about. So promotion of drugs. Me and Sam, we used to have a show. I know a lot of you are new here. We used to have a show called Trash Talk. And we used to have a guy who used to come on regularly and tell us about pharmaceutical drugs and their effects and illegal drugs and their effects. And we talked very openly about drug use on that show. No stigma attached to it. Why should there be? Right? So, I've got a very liberal outlook on drug use. Am I promoting drugs? Am I? Good question. I don't know. And that fucking rule certainly doesn't tell me. And this is the worst. This is just the pits. This is just the ultimate bullshit. Controversial or sensitive subjects and events. Like, really? Controversial or sensitive subjects and events. Well, what deems something to be controversial? It is controversial when if like 50% of people don't like what they're seeing. Is that controversial right now? I mean, is any comedy that is designed to inflame, is Doug Stanhope, Louis C.K., are all these people now fucking potentially demonetized, persona non grata on YouTube? Is that how it works? Events? What a controversial event? How the fuck do we deem that a sensitive event? What's a sensitive event? Basically what we're talking about here is people's interpretation of what they think about seeing something. When something is presented to them, does it upset them? Does it inflame them? Well, if it does, that's probably what was fucking intended. And they say, including subjects related to war, political conflicts, natural disasters, and tragedies. So again, we come back to this issue. There was a flood in Louisiana. A Counter-Strike player got fucked over. Just a few videos. We showed footage of the Louisiana floods. Well, that's a natural disaster. Better demonetize it. As it turns out, I think we did demonetize it because we don't want to make money at the expense of someone else's misfortune. It's not how we fucking roll. But the reality here is, why is a natural disaster such a big deal? How can I discuss that? How could I ever do another video to help victims and people who need flood relief? How could I ever do that? I can't. I couldn't do it. Let's say I said, look, let's get this video viral, and all the money made on this video through YouTube will go to this charity for flood relief to help the victims of Louisiana. And then they come in and go, you've shown a flood there, mate. Sorry, demonetized. Why is a lot of water a problem? Can you answer that? They can't. So let me tell you what's going on here. And now we're going to get into the broader context of literally what this is all about, right? And that is that these rules are deliberately vague. They are deliberately fucking vague because this is what the people who control tech need to enforce their own political biases. You can be very clear. Think about the law. Think about how clear the law is. And think about even there, right, how lawyers, they argue meanings of statutes and legislature and all this, right? But it's usually very clear. You do X, Y occurs. It has to be. We couldn't function in a society where the parameters were vague, right? And they don't fucking give you specific examples so they can apply a political bias, right? One video could be sexually suggestive. Another sexually suggestive video might slide, and they'll go, yeah, well, it didn't meet our criteria. What's your criteria then? Publish your criteria. They will not do it. And I've been the victim of this multiple times. I know many big personalities that have. Like, for example, Reddit have their own vague thing called vote manipulation. What is vote manipulation? To me, it's quite clear. It's when you either have a group of people and you go, hey, upvote this, lads. Yep, sound. Straight to the top we go. That's vote manipulation, right? Another form of vote manipulation, using your social media and going, hey, upvote this for me. Right? That is vote manipulation. Or downvote this for me. That's vote manipulation. Their policies clearly state what is and what isn't vote manipulation. Yet, when it comes to somebody that they feel might be a bit too big for the system, somebody that might be able to not be so big they don't have to listen to their rules, they make them fall in line. They did it with Totalbiscuit, right? Totalbiscuit used to say, like, look at this guy, look what he's saying here. There's no rule in anywhere on Reddit about linking to comments or threads on Reddit. In fact, Reddit actually stealth like you to do it because it drives traffic to their website. Okay, think about it. Reddit is one of the worst websites for monetization I've ever seen. They have had the biggest forum on the internet for how many years? Still going broke. Great job, guys. Really good. So they have these vague rules there so they can just take people down to fucking Chinatown whenever they want. And Totalbiscuit was one of the guys. He was like, wait a minute, I'm definitely not breaking the rules. I've studied law. I know exactly how this goes down. There is absolutely nothing in your site policies that say this. One Reddit staff member comes up and goes, yeah, but fuck up, bud. And that's the end of that then. That's the end of that then. And people now think that's site policy. It's not site policy, but they like to have the rules vague so they can interpret them as and when they please. So they can apply political biases without having to say the egregious and offensive reality of it's our site, we do what we want. It's our site, we do what we want. That's not a great marketing tool, is it? So that's why YouTube have kept these rules vague. And that's super interesting because, as I said, right at the top of the video, this policy isn't new. It's been around for about what? How long was it? About a year?
I think so, around that.
So why is it happening now? Well, according to this report on Forbes by contributor Eric Kane, he that says there, while quotes YouTube, a YouTube spokesperson, while our policy of demonetizing videos due to advertiser-friendly concerns hasn't changed, we've recently improved the notification and appeal process to ensure better communication to our creators. Well, how fucking interesting that your improvement involves enforcement. It's weird that, isn't it? Well, you've suddenly started enforcing a policy that's 1 year old towards people selectively. You're doing it in completely inappropriate manner. You're doing it towards videos that shouldn't be fucking demonetized, sorry. And you're doing it on sensitive issues, which people could actually benefit from if we could share that information. So it's got nothing to do with being more transparent. And it just seems ridiculous. Now, Totalbiscuit obviously did make this point. I suppose he's right. Advertisers don't want to be associated with people that make other lives miserable for money. Shocking, I know. He did say that. Makes sense, right? But that isn't what's happening in any of these examples that I've given. This actually is out to help people improve. And Totalbiscuit, again, did accept that Philly D getting hit, Philip DeFranco getting hit is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's clearly targeted. And that's why a lot of people aren't going to talk about this. They simply aren't going to talk about this because nobody wants to have their money taken away from them. When you have a YouTuber that literally makes a living off this platform, the best thing to do is just shut the fuck up and suck it up because any pushback can be met with worse punishment. And that is literally what this is all about here. This is a shot across the bows just to let people know. And just to let certain content creators know. There's no other interpretation of this. The fact that it's been around for a year and it hasn't been enforced up until this point, it suggests to me that this is about punishing people. It's about retribution. This is punitive. It's not about what's good for the site. Now, what frustrates me about this Forbes article is this idea that this isn't a form of censorship. And of course it is. What it says here is a lot of the reaction feels knee-jerk and over the top. This will almost certainly not have widespread impact people are worrying about. Many YouTubers whose videos were flagged out of context will get their content remonetized. And that's a huge assumption, by the way. And we've already seen evidence to the contrary of that. Problems will persist, but this isn't the end of YouTube as we know it. Well, it is, because it's changed. So the YouTube we used to know isn't here anymore. We are definitely entering a very different YouTube era, whether you want to accept that or not. Breathless condemnation and censorship headlines may sound scary, but as per usual, the doom and gloom is unwarranted. Ultimately, advertisers do have a say in which channels they associate with. These are businesses that have reputations to consider. It's also worth noting that this policy doesn't impact on a content creator's ability to post whatever they like on YouTube. That's within posting guidelines, only that some videos may not be monetized. That's a business decision, and one made largely thanks to the worst offenders on YouTube who, if we're lucky, will also suffer the most thanks to this policy. So let's talk about this then. What he's saying here in this Forbes report is basically that, hey, you've still got your platform. You can still make videos, right? Let's be real here. There are very few crusaders on YouTube. They do it to make money. It's their living. It's their livelihood. They are this internet generation's entertainers. They wouldn't, if you continually demonetized all the videos that addressed a certain subject, they would never talk about that certain subject again. So let's not pretend that this isn't a form of censorship, because eventually, if you keep hitting someone over the head and saying, look, I'm only hitting you over the head when you talk about that, eventually you're going to think, well, fucking hell, getting hit over the head sucks. I'll just stop talking about that. And you will. It'll take a very staunch defender of free speech, a very staunch YouTuber who really doesn't give a fuck, to actually just keep going on and on and on about the things they do. And trust me, the worst is yet to come. I'm telling you guys, it's not going to get better. This blowing up, it's going to blow over. Like, already in this Forbes article, you can see, like, hey, if we're lucky, the worst offenders will suffer the most. Brilliant. What a great idea. Let's embody people impinging on free speech and trying to de-incentivize talking about certain topics in the hope that it gets who you deem to be the worst offenders. What could possibly go wrong with that idea? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's either a free speech platform, and you've got guidelines. You don't need to add or alter that, right? You either endorse free speech and you let people within your site guidelines explore that free speech and utilize the monetary system that you have in place for everybody, or you don't. You cannot then start selectively going, well, this actually meets our guidelines, but we think, and again, remember, this is a thought process. This isn't, advertisers aren't going to YouTube. I just saw that Philly D video. Shut it down. Nobody's doing that. They are making an assumption on behalf of their business partners that there are certain content that they will not want to be associated with. It's an assumptive process. So I absolutely do not understand why anybody would rejoice or celebrate this in any way, shape, or form. And let's talk about a broader issue here, and that is this idea of, like, people are getting shut down for having certain ideas in tech. It's true. Nobody wants to accept it. You sound like a paranoid maniac when you start talking about it. And I've really had a lot of, I'm apprehensive about bringing it up. You will notice that we shut down all of our shows in this YouTube channel, stuff like I Hate It Here, where we break down ridiculous news that's going on in the world. We had to shut it down. We have to shut it down. We've avoided more broader topics. We've avoided addressing things like that Lyft video. We avoided that ridiculous, humongous outburst that occurred. We haven't really talked about just this erosion of free speech values in this channel anymore, because it's just not good when you're trying to grow a channel, and I've already been deplatformed once. I've already had my Reddit ban, still don't know why, right? Still never been communicated to me what I'm supposed to have done, right? So they will not even engage with me. So I can't, so everyone's like, oh, well, he should just do what the admins tell him. They've never told me to do anything. So I know what it's like to be deplatformed. So we fucking tried to steer away from that, but I can't stay silent about this. There is a clear bias in social media and tech right now. Look at tech reporting. Look at social media and how it's constructed. Look at the pages that get banned on Facebook compared to the ones that are allowed to stay. Look at Twitter running to ban Milo for doing the same thing Leslie Jones did, which is allegedly, inciting a mob. Leslie Jones actually tweeted at somebody who abused her, saying to her users, I'm going to retweet your hate for all that people can see. Get her, right? So she was inciting a mob to attack this individual. You either ban one or the other, but they don't do this. They selectively enforce it, Meanwhile, people that are fucking rejoicing every time there's a terrorist attack, they're fine. That's their view. We're a free speech platform. But if you criticize Ghostbusters or something, you're committing an act of hate speech. It's ridiculous. And it's there and it's in your face. And nobody wants to talk about it, because here's the thing: you need to be successful. You need a YouTube platform. You need a Twitter. You need a Reddit account. You need a Facebook page. You need all these things if you're a content creator, if you're a journalist, to get your message out there. And these things are all incredibly heavily compromised. If you want to just look at what happened with Google, obviously they own YouTube. They held a meeting at Google Ideas with these radical feminist people like Randy Harper and Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian, and they held a meeting there, and it was about online harassment. It was called the Online Abuse Prevention Initiative, right? And these people themselves who were there have been proven on multiple occasions to have engaged in online harassment. It's there. It's factual. Google it. Look at yourself. These new crash override network leaks prove that these individuals sat in private IRC channels and coordinated harassment towards people on the internet. Yet these are the good guys. These are the people that are driving what we can and can't talk about on our social media. And there isn't an alternative. This is the worst thing about it. This is why somebody has got to challenge this. There has to be a legal challenge brought against this, because there isn't an alternative. You cannot exist outside of that framework if you want to be successful as a content creator or a journalist. You simply can't do it. No one would ever find your content. Eventually, you wouldn't be able to create anything. You would be banned from all those platforms. What would you do? Create a website, hope people stumble across it? You'd be took out of search optimization. You know, like, think about it. Think about what's happening here. And if you think that Google as a company are like, you know, oh, wow, you know, this is an advertiser thing. Google has a long history of censorship, an unbelievably long history of censorship. And they've done things. It goes right back to, I think, like 2003, where they took certain companies out of the AdSense program based on things that they did, based on practices they did as a business. Now, and that might sound fine. Like, hey, yeah, they were doing something ethical. But it's like people say the slippery slope thing is a fallacy. It isn't. Once someone overreaches and everyone applauds, it'll happen again and again and again and again. It just happens. And it's not always on the right side either. So, you know, just go to the Wikipedia page called Censorship by Google. You can see it for yourself. There's just a long, long history here of them using their unbelievable influence over the internet. You know, the number one search engine, the only thing people use. It's even entered the vernacular. You know, they own YouTube. And just look at some of the examples of people that they've blocked, of people whose content they've removed, people who've spoken out politically against certain things. You know, look at how they've cooperated with certain oppressive regimes and fallen in line. Censorship obviously isn't an issue to these people. And this shouldn't be framed as like, well, we're just trying to make the internet a better place, or, you know, we want to prevent our advertisers from, you know, being associated with any negative content. This is literally how things start. And the people that are being demonetized and de-incentivized to talk about issues, it won't take long before they're hit with more of this, potential video takedowns. It's literally going to spiral out here. So I don't know what happens at this juncture. I don't know if people want to stay, fight the good fight, and try and turn YouTube into a better place. I don't know if people want to look at other platforms and maybe migrate across, because the only way you really will win this battle is by hitting YouTube in the pocket. You know, if the top YouTubers decide to move to another platform that can offer them similar rewards, similar financial inducements for just being able to speak their mind, maybe YouTube provides this policy. But let's be real, no one's going to do it. Nobody's going to do it, because I don't even think there is an alternative to YouTube that can monetize in the same way YouTube does. They've literally got the market by the balls, and they know they've got you by the balls. And that's why they're going to just keep doing this. And it's not going to change. So while I'm sure now the narrative is going to shift to, well, actually, this makes YouTube better, and it's not a big deal, and people are being completely over the top. I don't think people are being incensed enough about this. I think it's going to be a real problem. I think a lot of people aren't going to talk about this because they don't want to get hit in the pocket. And yeah, I'm just really aggrieved, because it's only a matter of time before this channel gets on someone's radar. You know, some salty person who doesn't like what I'm talking about, and it's going to get flagged, and we're going to get demonetized, and we barely make any money anyway. You know? So like that, it's insane what's happening, and I don't know. I guess that's where we end the video, Sam. Bye.